Fuad here back with another interview, and today I'm not joined by a regular boxer. I'm joined by top boxer Sadiq in the building. Obviously, we just had a little chat. How you been keeping for the fans? How's everything been going during lockdown?
I've been keeping good, bro. Yeah, lockdown. It's not really been, has it? But no, I've been good, bro. Just, do you know what? Lockdown just felt like one long camp. You know, like when you're in camp, you don't really see people, don't really go places, don't really do much things other than train. And lockdown was pretty much that. I just trained and saw family. I know apparently that's not in it, but
yeah, for boxers, I guess it's not been the biggest difference in life at all in terms of, you know, you kind of just get used to camp. For you as well, though, you can kind of say that the last few months have been tough because we've got a fight date confirmed for you next month, which is really exciting. We'll get onto that, but just to sort of, I've been asking the similar question to all athletes, all boxers that I've interviewed, because everyone's got a different approach. I've seen how you've approached what was locked down all these few months training wise. Just let people know how you adapted. What was your system in terms of keeping yourself in shape?
My system wasn't focusing on my craft like a true athlete and getting better every single day. So that now, did you say you got a date, bro? Because I haven't been given the date.
Oh, sorry, no, but we've got a confirmation. I don't know if it was a date, but there's a confirmation, right?
Oh, there's a confirmation of the fight, but not the date. Yeah, because you said next month.
I forgot they only put fight 1, fight 2, and fight 3, right?
Yeah, fight 3. Yeah, that's calm. Okay. But yeah, either way, man, I've been grafting away, so whenever it is, I'm good to go. And you know, I'm in a very good place. I feel like I'm sure there were some other boxers who did the same thing, worked diligently all the way through, addressed things that needed improving, all of that stuff. And I certainly am one of those guys who's done it. And, you know, ideally, Lerrone isn't one of them. But if he is, it doesn't really matter because I'm still going to knock his ass out.
We'll get on to that. I found that interesting when you guys, I think it was on the IFL interview when you were doing the split screen and what he said. We'll get on to that. But coming back to the BT Sports Studio, that's where the fight's going to be taking place. I know for you, you must be kind of like, obviously earlier on in your career, you know, before the main events, it was, you know, the arena's quiet anyway. But do you think for it to be like the BT Sports Studio, there's not going to be anyone there, it's going to be a weird setting. Has that played on your mind at all, or how are you going to adapt to it or anything like that?
When I first started boxing professionally, and still till now, I do a decent number of tickets. So even when the arena was quiet, I still had enough people going, Umar! So, you know, I can still hear them, and that's going to be missing this time around. But what I'm tapping into really is amateur experience. As some viewers are aware of, I boxed at elite level as an amateur for most of my amateur career. And I also, you know, I boxed for England, I boxed for Nigeria, that type of stuff, Nigerian Olympic team. And when you're boxing internationally, especially, you know, sometimes you're boxing in foreign places where there's really no one in the venue apart from people's teammates. So, you know, I can liken the teammates to the other person's corner and my corner. What I'm trying to say is it's calm, you know, and I've sparred different world champions in different gyms, and of course fighting is a different level of pressure, but I've been in high pressure situations in gyms. I've gone to America on my own for sparring and walked into like the Wild Card Gym and Mayweather Boxing Club, which is, you know, famous for having gym wars and stuff. And I've walked in on my own. I say on my own, but with one of my friends who's also a boxer. And we've just walked in and gone, who wants it? So, you know, if I can do that.
Proper East End.
Yeah, exactly.
Come on then.
Yeah, that's exactly what it's like. So for someone who's got it in them to do that, I mean, fighting behind closers, I can box anyway, basically is what I'm trying to say. I just need to get in the ring. Doesn't matter who, let's get it on.
That's a good point. Obviously, you can tap into those types of experiences. But I feel like even with this one, do you feel like there's something new you might have to tap into because it's such a big fight? It's for the British title. And, you know, Lerrone's a very good opponent, very solid opponent. So do you feel like even with those experiences, you're going to have to tap into something you might have not experienced before?
Nah. My will to win is that great. My will to win is so great. When I'm in a ring, most of the times, I even forget the referees in the ring.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like, very often I forget the referees, and I'm that focused on my opponent and that focused on winning. So I think the arena is going to be different. The noise is going to be different. But more time when I'm in an arena where there are people chanting and, you know, celebrating, I'm only picking out select voices anyway. Because I get lots of people going, I was right next to the ring and I said this and I said that. I'm thinking, I didn't recognize it.
Yeah.
You know, there's literally probably like, I don't know, 4, maybe 5 people whose voices would ever register with me when I'm in the ring. And, you know, come fight night, at least 2 of those people will be in my corner. So, you know, that's what's up.
All right. I put it on my story the other day. You, sir, are the definition of the can man. 12th fight in, and just another solid fight. You don't see this in boxing nowadays. The trickle effect of Mayweather leaving that, oh, people want to build themselves up to get to a point. This is your 12th fight, right? And this is the third solid opponent. We had Zach Chile, obviously, unfortunate for you in that fight, but you came back, bounced back, got victories under your belt. You went out and defeated Cody Davis, which was a brilliant win in your last fight. And now Lerrone, like, yo, talk to me, man. You can sell tickets. It's not like you have to take these risky fights so early on.
Yeah.
How? Why? What's the mindset here?
The mindset is, if you're gonna do anything, do it properly. And if you're gonna leave a good corporate job to be an athlete, then do that sport properly.
Yeah.
And in addition to that, it's, to most people, these fights are 50-50s. I see them as competitive fights, get me right. There's no delusion. They're competitive fights. But in my mind, they're typically like 70-30s. And what I find also a lot of times is that people often get carried away with hype, with how things seem on the surface, that type of stuff. Whereas I look at fighters and I see a lot more than most people see. I mean, there are some people I speak to in boxing that I know are able to identify certain things, and I'm intentionally avoiding going into specifics because, of course, I've got a fight coming up in a matter of weeks. But there are things I'm able to recognize that most people can't, and I'm also able to recognize them in the ring, which is why I think anyone who's watched at least a few of my fights would be able to say, if you ask them how exactly does Umar fight, it'll be very hard to mimic a single style and say this is how Umar fights, and I think you can agree with that probably. And that's because my best asset is adaptability, because I read what's happening very well, and I have a good, sharp mind that comes up with solutions very quickly.
Yeah.
Minus the Zach Chelli fight, I've made a big point of, you know, things that were unideal that night. But even then, it was a close fight, even based on, you know, what I was going through going into the fight. So anyway, the point is, it looks like a 50-50 to most people. In this case, like in Cody's case, the other person's the favorite, and I totally understand that perspective. I can, you know, I see why. If I was a casual observer of boxing in this fight, I see why Lerrone is the favorite, 100%. But fortunately for me, me, not the other people, and I'm able to recognize what others aren't able to, or what they're missing. And come fight night, you're gonna watch it. I'm gonna win again, and I'm gonna get, I told you, and then that'll be that.
Well, there's a massive strap on the line, British title, that really catapults people into the next stage, the next level of boxing. Whether that's, you know, trying to attempt to win a European title, you know, it's a massive bridge to bigger things in boxing. But the opponent, Lerrone, let's talk about him. Obviously, in that interview, you said, you know, I think you said, what was it? You said that he will adapt to the situation, he will change up his style, and he said he wouldn't, or something like that, if I'm correct?
Yeah, what I said was, now he's a champion and he's making the first defense of his title. I would expect that he would come out with more life and more vigor as a champion. And he interjected and said he's just as motivated as he ever was. And I was just like, all right, Mr. I never grow. I mean, if you're the same as well when you started, maybe it's cool, whatever, but I don't take that as something to be proud of. I mean, if you're working every day, you should be working to grow. Like, something should be changing. Do you know what I mean? So anyway, that's down to him. And then then he was he was claiming to be world level and all of that. Just chatting nonsense basically. But it is what it is.
What was your reaction when he said world level? Because obviously, you know, every fighter's, with all due respect, every fighter has the right to feel like, you know, they're on top of the world all the time. You know, you have to have a certain mindset. But obviously, we've not seen him in those fights. We've seen him beat, you know, a good Tommy Langford. He's got the Commonwealth title, and he's ranked to be a good fighter. But when he said world level to you, what was your sort of reaction in your head? Like, what's this guy saying?
I genuinely just thought he was just saying anything to sound good, because hence my reaction. And I was like, based on what? Because what on earth are you basing it on? Seriously, for your performance, what on earth are you? He's boxed 13 fights. 11 of them were journeymen or fringe journeymen. Even when he was winning WBO titles, look at the guys who was beaten there. Like, what the hell? And then he's had 2 fights against competitive opponents. One, Tommy Langford, right at the end of his career. Am I right or wrong in saying Tommy Langford retired after that fight? You know, after his career took a downhill turn. And it's not like Tommy Langford was a world champion who took a downhill turn. It was just, you know, he never, like, all respect to the guy, but what did he achieve really? And then it was right at the end of his tether. Then he beat Lennox Clark just about. Some people think Lennox Clark won. I was there live. I felt like Lerrone edged it personally. But the fact that some people thought that Lennox Clark might have won it and Lerrone was lucky tells you he didn't dominate the guy. And again, no offense to Lennox Clark. Lennox Clark has done nothing, absolutely nothing. I don't even think he had an amateur career. I think he was a unlicensed boxer who turned professional boxer. So how do you have a close scrape against him and then go the distance with Tommy Langford, who was basically retired, and then claim to be world level? It's just like, the guy's delusional. His team obviously gassing him up, but that's up to them. And then, it's just things like, if you look at Tommy Langford again, Tommy Langford versus any of the current world champions at super middleweight, how many rounds does it go? Do you see it going past 5? Do you see him doing 5 with Canelo, with Billy Joe, with Callum Smith, with David Benavidez, with Caleb? Do you see him going past 5 rounds with any of them guys? Absolutely not. But he went 12 rounds with Lerrone, yet Lerrone thinks he's world level. See, the guy's delusional, but I hope he stays delusional. I'm sure his team are gassing it up, and I'd like them to continue to, because I'd rather face a delusional boxer than one who's actually aware of what's coming.
Fair enough. Now, just before we move on to the next topic, I know as a fighter, you never look past your opponent that's coming up. But say you beat Lerrone and you get the British title and the Commonwealth title. I don't know what you're going to do next, because you always pull out these moves where like, oh, shit, oh, where did this come from? I didn't expect that. What in your head is sort of the next goal? Obviously, you don't have to like focus on it, but what do you want to do next?
It's a bit of a hard one, because like I said, this comes as unexpected for me, because after I beat Cody, so I had a plan from March 2019 when I made my first comeback fight after losing. And then the plan was box whether or not Frank Warren has shows on, right? For the next year at least. Just be active. Then about June, you know, I made a decision. I'm going to fight every 6 to 8 weeks up until summer 2020. That's going to keep me real active. And in the process, I'm going to navigate my way into positions where things can happen for me in my career. So, you know, I did that up until I got the Cody Davis fight. So I took that, which was a really good fight, you know, to go in line with what I was doing. So I boxed I boxed at the end of November. I think it's like the 29th of November. Then 14th of December, went away for the New Year's and came back on 22nd of February. I was fighting Cody. I went away again, basically is what I do after I fight, I go away. If anything, that's what I'm looking forward to. But yeah, I went away after fighting Cody and then came back, and I got a call saying, would you fight Lerrone? I said, what, for the titles? And they said, yeah. I was like, hell yeah. When is the date? And I said, 17th of April. And I was like, shit, that's very soon, but let's do it. So we're actually going to announce it. And then obviously the whole COVID thing. Okay. So we had to put that on the back burner. The point I'm trying to make is, it's been such an unusual time with no one knowing what's coming back or when boxing's coming back and all of that, that it's been hard to plan past. And then now, obviously, I'm giving a British and Commonwealth title shot. That at a time that's so uncertain, the only thing I can really do is focus on this task ahead. It feels like the most responsible thing to do and the most diligent thing to do. So I guess after that we can see what happens.
For sure. All right. I want to talk about something else now. A topic which I feel like I'm going to bring up to as many people as I can. We obviously saw the tragic events over in America with the passing of George Floyd, and then the whole world uniting against, racism. As we've seen in sport plenty of times, especially in football more than any other, I think here in Europe, we've seen racism numerous amount of times. European football, even in English football in the last few years, we've seen a couple of cases. I think one with Raheem Sterling last season, as close as it was. A lot of people say in boxing there isn't much racism because, it's so, diverse. You could say the gyms are for everyone. But as someone who is a professional boxer, hence, it doesn't even have to be in boxing, but day-to-day life, have you faced any sort of discrimination, racism that, you feel like you need to talk up about?
Thing is with racism, it's so complex that it's hard to simplify it. I actually doubt you can simplify it because there's so many layers to it. But the reality of the situation is, if you feel that you've been discriminated against as a result of your ethnic heritage, skin color, sometimes your religion, although religion isn't a race and ethnicity, but still religion, or anything that you're born with, really, then, I guess that could be classed as racism that has to do with your ethnic origin. So that being said, yes, I've had numerous experiences where I've been discriminated against, and I feel that it's because of my skin tone. I've witnessed it myself, and some people outright would just tell you, they'll just call you a monkey or the N-word or whatever else, but then you also have things that, do you know what? The thing with racism as well, another layer of it is, a lot of it is unintentional. So I experience a lot of unintentional racism. Is that people saying, oh, but you're all right, you're not like the rest. So what does that mean, bro? Do you know what I mean? So stuff like that, and sometimes it's stuff like, oh, you're quite different from the rest. Oh, look at your hair, or you're speaking white. That type of stuff. It's just that, as opposed to what?
Yeah.
But what is speaking white? Please explain. But then, of course, growing up, I try to avoid being like most boxers because they always talk about this. But growing up, I was a roadman. And in that experience, I had a lot of police experiences. There were times when the police would deal with us in ways that we felt were exaggerated because of our skin tone. Because even though I was a roadman, I had like black, Asian, white friends. And many a times there'll be times where we have experiences where our white friends will be treated different to the way we were being treated. And then we'll just be like, okay, cool. So we see what it is. And some officers would actually just straight up say it, and there's nothing you could do. But outside of the police as well, I mean, there's institutional racism as well. I have a lot of friends that work in the bank, in the city. And one of the common things I always say is, when you go into working in a bank or in a banking, you walk into that office on strike too. You're one strike and you're out. And there are lots of things that happen. So some of the undertones is like, someone could be in an office and then someone goes to them, oi, did you hear that thing that happened with, and it's something to do with a black person or some music, something of a black origin, but is that controversial things to do with black culture? And it's like, why didn't you ask anybody else? Why are you asking me? Oh, because I'm black. I should, like, this is what I'm supposed to like. This is what I'm supposed to be into. But yeah, I think I'm going on a bit too much. In short, to answer your question, there is racism. I think there's intentional racism. You have outright racist, but then you have a lot of people that are unaware of the fact that they're being racist. You also have a lot of people that are unaware of the fact that racism occurs simply because it's out of their personal experience. And some of them would even try to argue with you that racism isn't a thing. But I mean,
I feel like we've seen a lot of people who claim not to be racist, just, with certain situations. We've had a lot of situations in the last few weeks, with organizations and violence and riots and everything. But with everything going on, you can see people who claim not to be racist show sides where it's like, oh, okay.
Yeah, 100%. Especially when they try to give you stats.
Mm.
The worst one is the people that try to draw out, statistically, more white people suffer police brutality. Is that, do you think that the police are going to write down? First of all, black people ain't pressing charges. That's just typical. And secondly, do you think the police are going to go and snitch on themselves and write down police brutality or whatever? And then there's also, it's just like, oh, the stats say this and the stats say that. Well, you tell me the last movie you really like and try to sell the movie to me, but using statistics.
Mm.
You know, some things you don't use statistics to explain, and statistics can be skewed. The way they're recorded can be skewed. The interpretation can be skewed. Just listen to the stories that people are telling you and try to put yourself in their position and see how it's plausible. But anyway, that's another story. But yeah, in boxing, I think I don't think there's so much. There is a little bit. I remember being in amateurs and thinking, like, if you're fighting a white kid, you've got to make sure you really go for it because you might not get the decision. That was a thing. That was a thing. It probably still is. I don't know. And then even in the professional ranks, I mean, if you look at someone like Eddie Hearn and you look at some of the fighters he's got that he gives chances to over and over again, Sam Eggington, White Rhino, and David Price, you know, all these people, some of these fighters that they don't always perform, they lose some of the fights that have been set, where the stage has been set for them, and they get another opportunity. And the promoter likes them. And this is no dig at the promoter, and I'm not saying it's racist, it's just that some of the differences and experiences. So it's because, of course, the promoter likes them, but when has anyone ever seen when, you know, Eddie Hearn, for example, who does these things, has had a black fighter that gets chances over and over and over again, besides Derek Chisora? And even with Derek Chisora, the argument is Derek Chisora has never claimed to be the most skilled fighter, just comes and gives you all every time. But, you know, outside of that, and he earns every single thing he gets. You know, you don't see Derek Chisora losing a fight he should have won in a way that he shouldn't have lost it, and then he gets given an opportunity straight off the bat, just like that, again, to redeem himself. But the point I'm trying to make is,
some would say, Umar,
I don't think it's racism. Sorry, I don't think it's racism. I think it's that we're more likely to relate to things that we can identify in other people that we feel are similar to things in us, and by virtue of the fact that the biggest promoters, at least in the UK, are white, you're more likely to get biased if you're white. Not because they're racist, it's just human nature. And again, it's one of those things where I feel that they're likely unaware of it.
Okay. But some would argue, you know, the names that you mentioned, like Sam Eggington, David Price, and Dave Allen, would be big ticket sellers, hence why they come. You know, whenever their fights come to Yorkshire, a lot of Dave Allen fans show up. You know, he's got a fan base up in Newcastle as well. David Price with Liverpool, who's the other one? Sam Eggington, Birmingham. Do you feel like that is a, you know, it kind of attacks your argument as well, because, you know, they do sell a lot of tickets?
Yeah, I think they sell the tickets, you know, you just mentioned the place. They sell the tickets because they come from places where, or cities and towns where the people support their own. And meaning, like, if you're from the area, you're more likely to get support. I mean, coming from a big city like London or Manchester, it's harder to get a big following like that. So of course that plays a part. Don't get me wrong. I'm not dismissing the fact that they sell tickets, and of course they're bringing some value, some type of value. But it's also to do with the type of opportunities they get. I mean, they're getting title shots and stuff off the back of losses, whatever, you know. And again, it's no dig at anyone. It's just an observation. And like I said, it's the kind of thing that I feel that can happen for you. So it's a bonus that you can get if you're white. And if you're black, you don't even dream about it. Not because the person giving it out is intentionally picking white or black. I just think they're unaware of what's happening.
Okay. Yeah. Makes sense. Well, let's just hope, and as we can hope, that the world change. I mean, I feel like personally, over history, it's just like, it's this bridge that we're crossing that's just taking forever to cross. May never happen in our lifetimes, but hopefully, you know, we see less of what we've seen in the last few months, and just more love and positivity within the human race altogether. But any final words to your fans, and any final word on your big fight coming up?
Thank you for watching this far. If you have, I appreciate you. Much love. Get on my socials, Top Boxer Sadiq. Follow, subscribe to Behind the Gloves TV. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. And, you know, hope to announce a fight date as soon as possible once we're able to. And once we do that, what I can promise you is I've been training all the way through lockdown. I'm training even harder now, which is why I just had a nap before we started this. And come fight date, whenever it happens to be, I promise I'm going to deliver. So, tune in, get behind me, follow the journey. It's a great one.
Hey Fight fans, it's Michelle Joy Phelps. If you haven't already subscribed to my YouTube channel, make sure you go ahead and do so by clicking this icon right here and hit the bell button so you can get notified every time we upload a new video. And we also have a free app available on iTunes and Google Play. So make sure you go and download that. Bye Fight fans.